So, friends, welcome back to the program once again. Today we are on our 15th day, and we have 3 more days to go, wherein we are going to cover quite a number of very interesting topics. Today we plan to cover two of the very important aspects of valuation. And I would say the first one that we are talking about is much more important than the second one. The first one that we are going to cover today is valuation of intangible assets. And the second one that we are going to cover is the topic on valuations in case of specific situations. That topic of course is important, but the one that we currently are doing is much more important than the second one. Of course, second one talks about specific situations like how to do the valuation in case of a distressed asset, how to do valuation in case of investment entities, how to do valuation in case of cyclical companies, how to do valuation in case of insurance coverage. So those are the topics that we would be covering. But before that, we will be covering this topic of valuation of intangible assets. Now, what are we going to cover as part of this topic on intangible assets? Now, before I tell you as to what all we are going to cover as part of this topic, let me tell you, friends, across the globe, ये लोगों के का एक मिथ है कि दुनिया में सारी कंपनियां फिक्स्ड एसेट्स के बेसिस पे चलती हैं, टेंजिबल एसेट्स के बेसिस पे चलती हैं, यानी कि प्लांट एंड मशीनरी, लैंड और बिल्डिंग के बेसिस पे चलती हैं. पर हकीकत ये है, हकीकत इसके इसके विपरीत दुनिया की सारी कंपनियां हैं टेंजिबल एसेट्स के बजाय इनटेंजिबल एसेट्स के दम पर ज़्यादा चलती हैं. और बड़े इंटरेस्ट की बात यह है कि मोर ऑफन देन नॉट इन केस ऑफ मोस्ट ऑफ द कंपनीज these intangible assets even do not form part of the balance sheets of those company. क्या मतलब है कहने का मतलब यह है कि कंपनी के पास में इंटेंजिबल एसेट्स हैं, कंपनी ने सालों सालों तक काम करके इंटेंजिबल एसेट्स क्रिएट किए हैं, लेकिन वो इंटेंजिबल एसेट्स कंपनी की बैलेंस शीट पर दिखते भी नहीं हैं. येट कंपनीज ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड आर रन ऑन द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ intangible assets. Can you imagine a company like company like Coke, Pepsi, Adidas, Nike, Puma, and so many companies all over the world? Can these companies really survive if their respective brand names are taken from them? Will Coke be able to sell if the Coke as a brand is taken off and removed and closed? Can Pepsi be able to sell and generate the kind of revenue they do if they are not allowed to use the brand name Pepsi? And answer of course is no, it's just not possible. All these companies are able to do extremely good business and earn good profits is primarily because of the intangible assets that these companies have in the form of brand name and things like that. So what are we going to cover in our session today? Number one, what is an intangible asset and how it is different from tangible asset? That is what we will understand. What are the types of intangible assets? And let me tell you, there are so many and I am sure जब हम डिस्कस करेंगे तो आपके ध्यान में आएगा कि कितनी सारी इंटेंजिबल एसेट्स हैं जिनका कि हमको आइडिया भी नहीं है, बट दे एग्जिस्ट. Number three, we will understand what are the key characteristics of intangible asset. तो अगर कोई इंटेंजिबल एसेट है तो उसके क्या की कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं that makes an intangible asset an intangible asset. Why will there be a need for valuation of intangible assets? एक intangible asset को valuation करने की क्यों जरूरत पड़ती है? That is what we will understand. Number 5, how will you carry out valuation of a tangible assets? तो एक कोई tangible asset है, आप उसका valuation कैसे करते हैं? And how should an intangible asset be valued? So against the valuation of a tangible asset, how an intangible asset should be valued? How will valuation of an intangible asset be different from valuation of a tangible asset? यानी कि tangible asset के valuation में और intangible asset के valuation की जो methodology है उसमें क्या फ़र्क है, अगर कुछ फ़र्क है तो. Which will be the most appropriate approach and method for the valuation of an intangible asset? तो कोई इंटेंजिबल एसेट है, और अगर उसका वैल्यूएशन करना है तो उसके वैल्यूएशन के लिए कौन सी अप्रोच सबसे फिट एंड मोस्ट अप्रोप्रिएट होगी. And finally, of course, friends, we will discuss today what are the main challenges in the valuation of intangible assets. So this is the plan that we have today for the day. And what we're going to discuss, we're going to discuss all these aspects part by part, one by one. And that is how we will take this session forward. I'm sure you will find this session extremely interesting because it is interesting undoubtedly.